Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and let's start this off with the All the World's a Stage file, also known as the red file. What you're looking at here, this is an older video. I saw it going around today and I thought why not show it? I don't think I may not have ever shown this video. Ripple Labs 2016 roundtable with CFTC, Federal Reserve, DTCC, Fidelity, Chamber of Digital Commerce, Michael Barr, and more in attendance discussing impact of blockchain and DLT on financial services. See if I can get this going. This is Ryan Zagone, who ran the regulatory affairs at Ripple. They're at the Brookings Institute, I believe. Let's see if we can get it to play. Let me hit the old refresh button here and let's get this party started.
Hi, my name is Ryan Zagone. I'm with Ripple. I want to follow up with a couple comments on particularly the conversation about what we'll see going forward and the ecosystem we see developing. So right now, I think blockchain and Bitcoin has been described as a panacea for everything in financial services. We spent 2 years working with banks for proof of concepts, pilots, and live products that they're working over our network now to learn that that is not the case, that Bitcoin or blockchain is not needed to solve all of our issues. As was said earlier, DTCC can go real time today with the technology they have today. It's not a technology problem. What we're focused on and where blockchain comes in is on use case specific issues. So in finding a use case where there's friction that could benefit from blockchain. So in our vision of the future is that you have some blockchain or Bitcoin networks developed, both private and public, and you also have centralized systems like DTCC running today. And the value we see going forward is not in building a network that everyone uses, but in connecting these different networks. So we see a varied ecosystem of both distributed companies or distributed networks along with centralized networks. And the value here is going to be connecting those. There was a comment earlier about, do you need blockchain to connect those? And we wholeheartedly think no. That is not necessary, and nor do we think we'll likely see that. Likely because of the permissions, the operational resiliency concerns that come up when outsourcing the operations of a network to unknown parties. That's far outside of what we see in the regulatory construct. So we likely see an interoperability protocol that gets developed that is not blockchain based.
I mean, the individual networks may be blockchain based, but the network to network thing is not.
Correct. And I would point folks to the W3C, the Web Standards Group for the Internet. They have such protocol that they're working on now called Interledger. And it's a non-blockchain protocol that connects centralized systems and distributed, along with distributed to distributed. It creates an internet of value, as we see it, where there's connectivity between all different types of systems and systems that are designed for use case specific problems, not one architecture that we apply to everything. I don't think that's where we'll see a practical application of these tools.
Jerry Brito.
Great summary and overview of how this thing's supposed to work. Now look, ProCoin News, who's the official sponsor of the Digital Asset Investor Hunting and Fishing Club, there will come a time when people won't believe you could buy as much XRP as you wanted at 50 cents. Soon it will be unobtainium. I like that word. That's a thumbnail-worthy word. And I don't know what this person's talking about, but they said an XRP drought is coming. I don't know if they are referring to not being able to get it or what, but I like the sound of it. And then here's something people aren't thinking about. All we're hearing about is how bad the economy is, how we're heading into recession, how bad crypto is, how it's a crypto winter. That's all we're hearing. Well, my experience in just about all markets is that anytime that all of the people are saying one thing, go the other way, or things turn out the other way. That's my experience. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be this time, but look, here's what another thing people aren't thinking about, folks. We're in 2023, as bad as everybody says it is and is going to be, in 2023, we're getting some kind of regulation. They've said pretty much we're getting stablecoin regulation. And my experience is that anytime there's anything bordering on regulation with crypto, it causes things to surge. Jake Chervinsky is one of those guys in DC. Like most of the industry, the crypto policy world is heads down building mode right now. It feels good. Some pieces are falling into place here in DC. Despite how rough 2022 was and a few lingering dangers, I think we're in a strong position for the next couple of years. And then there was this article from Steve Gilbronson. Republican lawmakers push crypto regulation with new House subcommittee, on crypto. So they're working on it. And it's not just one side of the aisle. This is one of those things that both sides of the aisle are wanting to work towards. So you just get a whiff of some legislation, and it could turn this whole ship around quick. All right, Eleanor Terrett scoop following a state regulatory examination. Genesis Trading may be scrutinized for its investment management practices, liquidity, balance sheet issues similar to FTX. Enforcement actions and consent orders may follow based on findings. And then there was this. Don't know who this guy is. Let's see if I follow. I'll give him a follow. The SEC is investigating VCs who invested in FTX. They are assessing whether the VCs conducted their stated due diligence process. VCs are in a catch-22. If they did due diligence and still invested, then the due diligence looks insufficient and possibly negligent. Here are the scenarios. If VCs did not do due diligence, they are negligent. Unless they told their investors they don't do real diligence, doubtful. Keynote, the SEC will test the diligence. Best scenario for VCs is they did perform due diligence, their stated practice, but the due diligence was not able to identify the fraud. The freaking SEC was not able to identify the fraud. Who's going to investigate Gary Gensler and why he was meeting with FTX and having planning sessions with FTX? Where's his due diligence? That's my question. I mean, this is absurd for these guys to be going after people when they were meeting with them, having planning sessions with them. Where's their responsibility? You can't have responsibility for everybody in the world that the SEC goes after, but not the SEC and the regulators themselves. Congress, where are you? Now, this is bizarre. Remember when the flights were grounded in the U.S. the other day? I had not heard anything about this until I saw this clip right here. Tucker Carlson's floating a theory that I guess that hackers had to do with the grounding of these flights, and we're asking for a Bitcoin ransom. Listen.
Almost all ransoms like this are paid in Bitcoin. So if the U.S. government was buying huge amounts of Bitcoin in order to pay a ransom, Bitcoin prices would surge, of course. So the question is, has that happened? Oh, yes, it has happened. Since the nationwide ground stop last Thursday, the price of Bitcoin has shot up about 20%. Is that a coincidence? We asked Pete Buttigieg to come on the show tonight to let us know. Unfortunately, he did not respond to our request, so we'll keep asking.
There is so much shady stuff going on, it's not even funny. Now, anybody who's been listening to me for a while knows that I don't really get into the riddles and the bearable guy stuff, but I have no problem with anybody that is interested in that stuff. But I did want to show you this because I've seen this go around. For those of you that don't know, the bearable guy thing and the riddle thing, I guess the overall concept is in XRP land is that the person behind that account and some of those accounts might have some kind of knowledge on the inside, and they're kind of leaking it out in their own way to give clues to this. Now, like I said, I've never really gotten into all that stuff, but this one I did find interesting. This is a graphic I've seen go around for years now, and it was a graphic that was put out, I guess, by Bearable Guy. It says, "So it begins," and it had these three mountains. And then somebody today or yesterday put out the Davos entrance, I guess, and it's got a very similar logo. And then here's another shot. Look at this. Davos cloisters. I don't know what that says. And then here's the graphic. I mean, pretty wild. I guess the hint there would be that what goes on at Davos is material to Ripple and XRP. Well, Brad Garlinghouse is there, and it looks like Brooks Entwistle from Ripple might be there too. What a difference 8 months makes, said Ripple's SVP Brooks Entwistle. You couldn't walk more than 5 or 10 feet without seeing a crypto house in 2022. Davos 2023, crypto is down but not out. And there's an article that CoinDesk did here, Davos 2023, several pictures that I thought were interesting to show you which people in crypto are there representing circles right here. Crypto meets stable. Then you got the Tether is represented. Polygon has a pretty big place there. LCX out of Liechtenstein. And any of you old schoolers, you might know that name, Liechtenstein. And then CNBC, there was a shot where a guy was giving somebody a hard time outside of a CNBC building, and it had Filecoin written right there right next to CNBC. Now, Libraries had tweeted this. You know, Charles Gasparino has been trying to stir up trouble here recently, and he was talking about how absurd it is that the XRP community, hate everything having to do with Ethereum. For me, it's not that. For me, it's very simple. It's a very simple concept. We uncovered ETHgate. It's real. The Joseph Lubin consensus and all these people, they had closed door meetings. We've got the timeline. We've got it all. We've got the video. They had closed door meetings with the SEC. And in those meetings, it wasn't good enough that they got Ethereum a free pass through the Bill Hinman speech. That wasn't good enough. Joseph Lubin then went out on stage and started making comments almost as if he knew that they were going to slam the door on the rest of crypto. And he specifically called out Ripple and said, yeah, Ripple doesn't have any clarity. So it's from his own words that we pieced together all this stuff. So it's not that we hate Ethereum. I've said so many times, I want Bitcoin and Ethereum and everything else to do well. It's just I want them to do well on a level playing field, not by using a regulator to pick winners and losers. And I don't want anything bad to happen to Ethereum or Bitcoin, but I want them to be put on the level with the rest of the digital assets. That's all it was ever about. And so Library kind of is telling it like it is here. Our impression is the XRP community holds resentment towards Ethereum because Ethereum gets to play by rules that no one else does. True story. Whether Ethereum gets different rules due to SEC or corruption, just dumb luck, it doesn't really make sense to blame Ethereum. Nobody's blaming. It's not a blame of Ethereum. Ethereum is just our way of calling out what's going on. And we have to point at it to call out what's going on at the SEC. And by pointing at it, that creates pressure to do the right thing, in my opinion. That's what it's always been about for me. And I think we've created quite a bit of pressure. Speaking of Ethereum and Joseph Lubin, $715 million in investment threatened by consensus shareholder win. This is that lawsuit against consensus. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of the shareholders. The transaction, codenamed Project North Star, transferred major products and business units, MetaMask, Infura, and others, from Swiss-based Consensus AG to U.S.-based CSI on the basis of its ownership of these assets. The shareholders sued and basically said there was no vote. And as I always also recall, this transfer was partially to JP Morgan was going to become the owner of a lot of this, as I recall. And so, yeah, it was slim shady. Now, Flair put this out. The key difference between the original airdrop from November 2020 and this proposal that's up is how the tokens are supplied. There are a same number of monthly distributions, same in both possible versions. Flair, the distributions, this airdrop followed by this, distributed over 35 months. The key difference is that if you vote yes, and if it's approved, the monthly distributions are only sent to wrapped Flare. This is the reason I said in my last video that I was planning to vote yes, is because the distributions are now going to be sent to only wrapped holders. That means that you can now, let's say you were on Coinbase and you don't trust Coinbase now or later, and you don't trust that the SEC wouldn't go after them and put them out of business. Well, this if you leave it the way it is, you're subject to whatever happens to Coinbase or whether they decide to distribute. If you accept the proposal, you can then you can get a Ledger wallet, Ledger Nano OS, links in the top of the description, or you can put a Bifrost wallet on your phone and you can put your original 15% on that, wrap it, do your thing, and then it'll all come to that wallet. Now you've taken Coinbase out of the loop. And that's the reason this is a good thing to me. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that there aren't good and bad, but what I'm saying is overall, this is what makes the most sense to me. That does not mean that I'm pleased that they changed it in the first place. I think they never should have touched it. They just should have thought it all out before they did it. But this is where we are. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family to check out. Just go study this thing yourself and decide for yourself.